Okay, this is a video to show an adjustment for a bifold door, and this is the problem I'm having. It's slightly out of adjustment, so you see when the door is to close, hits the wall, then it starts making this noise as it squeeze it in place. Now, you can close it, okay, it does lock up, but I can see that it's too tight on that side. On the other side, on the other hand, it's nice. There's a little gap there, so you can see they don't quite meet in the middle. You can actually see the light. So from that point of view, it might be okay in the middle. I would say the only issue I'm having here is that it's that squeaky noise as it fits up against the wall. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to try moving that out just a little bit. Okay, I'll use the pause and then I'll basically show that adjustment. Okay, this is the so-called Johnson 1700 series, although this one is an older one, dating back from 1984 when the house was built. Now, on the top of the bifold door, there are two of these posts. One of them is metal. That's what supports the whole thing. Now that fits up into here, and then there's a little notch for it to rest in on. Now, once it's rested in on the notch, there's a so-called locking tab. That's this thing here, and this thing, you can slide it forward. Okay, I didn't slide it there because I had a little bit of a problem, but if you have a something you can fit in here, okay? There, I just slid it forward. Now when you slide that forward, what that does is, if you look up in there, it might be a little bit hard to see, but all it does is, I'll slide it back and you'll see it. It slides a little plate over the top of that. Now, they call that locking because once that's slid over the top of it, you can't lift it up. And lifting it up is the way that you remove it from the track. So the way you put it in is it goes up high, it slides down. Once it's in the notch, it settles down a little bit. Then when you put that cover over the top, it can't be lifted up out of the notch, okay? So that's the locking thing. Now, all I'm going to do is loosen that knot, and then I'm just going to slide this out a little bit because it was sitting up against the wall. You can see where it was hitting and making that noise, okay? So it's really a minor adjustment, okay? But while I have it here, you can see a few other features of this, because the way this bifold works. The other post is actually spring-loaded. See, it actually will move up. And the way that this is designed to work is when you first put it up, it goes into this gap. Then it slides out, it rides in here. Okay, but none of the weight of the door is actually resting on this, okay? And you'll notice that when I'll show you after it's in. This is just a guide. It's just to guide it. It doesn't actually support the weight. And I did have a little bit of a problem here on this one, and I made an adjustment there. What I did was I just took a twist tie and I put it under there. The reason is I wanted to keep it up. The reason I wanted to keep it up was I was having a problem that when I go to close the door in the completely open, I'm sorry, not close, but open the door all the way, that little spring-loaded device would pop down and then it's out of the track, okay? So there was a little bit of a height problem. See, even when it's down, it's not supposed to be so low as to come out of the track, so that then once it pops down out of the track, either it'll get in the way and the door will not close, or if the door did close, it wouldn't be in the track at all, or it would fall down in this lower section of the track. Now, this design is so-called, I guess it's an older style, because if you look at the new style of the Johnson 1700 series, it doesn't work that way. This pin no longer has this shoulder on it. It only goes up in the track, but it's not captive in the track like this one is. So they've changed the design here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move that over a little bit with the intention of solving that problem up against the wall. And then I'll show you, we'll see how it works, okay? I'll hit pause again. Actually, before putting the door back on, I wanted to show you this control on the bottom. Now, the way this one on the bottom works, you see, it's got 3 screws. One of them is adjustable. So during the installation procedure, before these 2 screws are put in, which lock the position, this screw is put in, and then this is moved up and down to achieve a certain optimum height. Then these other screws are put in. So this height adjustment is now, it's no longer adjustable on height without drilling new holes. This is spring loaded, okay, and there is another pin on the bottom of the door, and that holds it captive. This bracket, according to the instructions, it's not supposed to hold any of the weight of the door, and you can kind of get that sense because if it did, it would just be pushing it down. Okay, it's not rigid. It's only designed so it doesn't slide out so as to hold it captive. Okay. Now, when you go to install the door, there are different ways of installing it. The method that I'm using is I first put the pin from the bottom of the door and I rest it on this. Okay, it pushes down a bit. And then I worry about getting the other units in at the top. Okay, if I align them in this direction, I can get the other pin, the solid metal pin, to go in, and at the same time I'm able to get the plastic one into this slot so that it will work properly. This isn't quite the way the directions work, but this is something I just played with. Okay, I'm going to put the door in now after I make an adjustment. Okay, I adjusted that. Now, I adjusted it by taking out the door and then using a screwdriver, but it's also possible to adjust it with the door in place by using a box end wrench, or possibly even the open end wrench by getting in there. Now, this door comes, the hardware, the Johnson hardware comes with a flat wrench that's designed for this adjustment. But I was able to use my generic 5/16. Now, what I found was that when the door was open, I could fit it on to that with 5/16. It was a little bit loose, but the 1/4 inch was too small, so fortunately I didn't strip it out with the 5/16. Okay. Yeah. 7mm was too tight, so that was the best I had. Now, you'll see here now, it closes without making the squeaky noise, okay? Whether or not it touches, I'm not sure, okay? Now in the middle, you can see a little bit of a gap, but the gap closes up in there, and then it opens up again at the bottom, okay, a little bit. So, the doors have a slight bow in it. But that seems to work okay. Now, I tightened that up. That could become loose and might need an adjustment, so I don't know how to do that. Could be important. Okay, another thing that I wanted to mention here was, if you notice when this opens, if you open it all the way, you'll notice that you can get into a situation where the spring-loaded one is actually in the loading slot. And what I found on this door was, what it would do is, when you opened it all the way, it would pop down, and then it would be actually out of the slot. And then when you tried closing the door, it wouldn't close properly, okay? So that's why I put a little twist tie on there, just to pop that up a little bit. I could have used other materials, but that worked okay. Now, on the other side, I didn't have that problem, okay? When it's in the totally open position, and that's because this door is just a little bit higher up, okay? And it doesn't, this is already in the so-called snap down position, but it doesn't have the problem where it pops out. And that is just because of a little imperfection in the height adjustment on the door. This one had it. Now I can't adjust the height on this door, okay, because that's determined strictly by the hardware. Okay, so I'm not sure exactly where that slight error was coming from. There was something that did happen to this door at one point in time before I moved into the house. I can see here that there was a repair. A piece of wood here came off, and then it's been nailed back in or glued back in with pins. And that is right below where the support pin is on it. But the repair seems to have been done okay, because I never noticed that until I went to do this adjustment. And it seems fine. So anyway, I didn't need to make any adjustment in the middle. That seems fine. There's no weight on that pin, okay? This door, oh yeah, the problem with that adjustment, I see how I could probably fix that, is the second bifold, where how it's been set up on the hinges is probably a teeny bit low. See, if I took the hinges off and moved it up a tiny bit, I wouldn't have that problem. Okay, that's a small, minor adjustment. I could probably put some toothpicks in the holes and then nudge up the door a little bit, but I think it's fine the way it is. Okay, thanks. Bye.